Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to this class. So this is a Friday has come, the 8th, 9th week has ended. I don't lost the count of the number of classes I've done with you people in this 2 p.m. class. I really don't know if that's helping you or not. Please let us know. Please join the Telegram channel given below. And I'm also starting a mentorship program, and some methods of talking to you are also coming up. Probably I cannot commit right now, but Zoom call is in my mind. Let's see whether it will work out or not, because there are certain things which we sort of I cannot comment on at this moment. But in mentorship program, definitely I'll try and help you with a study plan. If you will tell me how and what you're going through, what is happening with you, what you're thinking, and how do you want me to help us, basically. So please utilize it, and at the same time, try and solve as many reading comprehension questions as possible. Let me see if I'm coming all right or not. Coming all right. Thank you very much. And so I think it makes all the more sense for you to download and install and work on the Unacademy app, and subscribe to it and start solving reading comprehension questions as many times as possible. And my name is Anupam. I'm more than 3,000 hours of CAT training experience under my belt, and I've trained more than 3,500 students for CAT, and I've also developed verbal ability questions for GMAT. Please install and download and install Unacademy app. Go to Plus, go to CAT, and subscribe. And in subscription, you will see that you will get these 5 options in front of you. Anything more than 12 months makes sense. 15,750 for 12 months and 18,900 for 24 months. After you get the user code Saxena Live as a discount code. And please use the code. Please so you will get EMI options on 6, 12 and 24-month subscription as well. So I think if you are aiming for 2021, then I think anything more than 12 months makes sense. 24 months makes sense, because by the time you will be writing CAT, it will be already 2022, and you will be you will probably be so I think in that way, I think 2 months, anything more than 2 years, 2 years makes sense. 18,900, and we'll be training you for interviews also. We'll be training you for your GDP as well, and the entire GK and everything else we'll be training you on. So anything with respect to that also makes sense. Also let's see how we can manage how we can do that. Yeah, so please utilize and use the code Saxena Live to get 10% discount. Let's try and solve the question now with today's CAD class of reading comprehension. We'll directly come to solving the RC. No Gyan today. Super methods, while we are solving, we'll utilize them. Okay. So we'll do with you and I'll show you how it's happening. Free of the taint of manufacture phrase, that phrase in particular is heavily loaded with ideology of what Victorian socialist William Morris called anti-script or an anti-capitalist conservationism that isolates itself with the vision of a pre-industrial golden age. So they're saying that there is this notion, there is this idea about an age which used to happen, or which happened in past before the industrialization. Since we're talking about Victorian socialists, so we're talking about England, about Great Britain. So there's a notion of a certain kind of a lifestyle or a certain kind of a culture which was, or say if it's music or history or folk stories of that age. So there's a notion of those times. Like in India we have a notion ki, okay, in olden days, in Mughal era, such was the culture, or in Mohenjo-daro, such was the culture, or say when Gandhiji and this entire all Quit India movement and civil disobedience movement, all this was happening. Yeah, if a non-cooperation movement was happening, there was certain kind of a feeling or emotion which Indians felt within themselves. So in that way, there's a notion about a pre-industrial golden age which happened before the arrival of steam engine in the Great Britain. So in Britain, the folk may appear a cozy fossil form, but when you look more closely, the idea of folk, who has a right to sing it, dance it, evoke it, collect it, belong to it, or appropriate it for particular culture ends, has always been contested territory. So they're saying that the idea of folk, of who will sing it or who will dance to it or evoke it or to utilize it or to or to sort of mix it with their own music, what will happen, this and who will do it, this has been, well, people have been doing it in their own ways. This is what it's trying to say, that there will be a lot of people who are doing it. In our old time, the world folk has achieved the rare distinction of occupying fashionable and unfashionable status simultaneously. So they're saying that the folk has achieved fashionable and unfashionable status simultaneously, just as effusive floral prints of radical William Morris now cover the genteel sofas. So the revolutionary intentions of many folk historians and revivalists have led to music that is commonly regarded as parochial and conservative. So what they're saying that folk music has been fashionable and it has also it is also at times viewed as being unfashionable. So there here the author is given an example that one certain floral prints, we need not know what those are or what impact they had on the popular culture of Britain, but these floral prints of William Morris, which were considered very advanced and very groundbreaking, very avant-garde in that sense, very advanced. They are now used on sofas. So certain prints, it's just like polka dots, right? So polka dots At one time they were like, if you ask your parents and all, they'll say, oh, polka dots was considered to be the height of fashion. And now finding a polka dots dress will be very, very difficult for you. So like that. So like polka dots are these dots, these circles, basically polka dots. So at one point of time, in if you ask your parents, or if your parents sort of elder sisters and your taujis and tayajis, they'll tell, okay, in our age, okay, polka dots shirt or polka dots, this thing was very the entire dress system was, people used to love it, and people used to enjoy it. So they're saying that similarly, certain music was once considered which was considered extremely revolutionary, has also been considered as conservative. Parochial means very narrow, very shallow, very confined to your own community, and confined to the language group in your family, very, very narrow in the approach. Yet as newspaper columns periodically rejoice, folk is hip again, influencing artists, clothing, furniture designers, celebrated at music festivals, award ceremonies around TV, reissued on countless record label. Folk is a sonic shabby chic, containing the elements of the uncanny and eerie, and as well as an antique veneer, a whiff of Britain's heathen dark ages. So they're saying that again, folk has become mainstream. It is being considered very important. It has become fashionable again, and there are a lot of places it is being remembered, it is being played, whether it is whether artists are playing it, furniture designers, music festivals, award ceremonies, and it's happened. So folk is a sonic chick, means something which is very, very popular, very happening, very trendy, basically. And it has elements of something which is unknown or difficult to unknown, and eerie, which is something which is strange and a little scary also, as well as there is an antique veneer. Veneer means that there is veneer is a coating over it's a parchment or a coating or a cover over certain furniture. So there is a antique touch to it, and it has a faint smell of Britain's olden ages, heathen dark ages. The obscurity. Let's try and solve a question. Question number second we can solve. The primary purpose of the reference to the William Morris and his floral prints is to show. So the primary purpose behind using the reference to William Morris and his floral prints is to show what? Is to show the pervasive influence. So what was the purpose of William Morris and to show his floral prints? The primary purpose was to say that something which is considered very revolutionary at a later point of time, it becomes very mundane, very, very common, basically, when everybody starts doing it, right? So it's here itself. What is once regarded as radical and folk can later be seen as conformist. Yeah. That what is considered radical can be seen as conformist. The pervasive influence of folk on contemporary, pervasive influence, it was never mentioned here. Pervasive means something which is present everywhere, basically. It's found, or its effect is expanding, basically. or that despite its archaic origin, folk continues to remain a popular tradition. Despite its no, this was never mentioned. This was not the idea here. That was once regarded as genteel is now considered revolutionary. So this is the ulta of it. So what was once considered revolutionary is now considered genteel. Okay. So this is a revolutionary technique that even if you've read a quarter of it, you can solve a question, right? So for solving a question, you need not do the entire passage. The author says folk may appear cozy in a fossil form because that it has a nostalgic association with pre-industrial past. Why? Because we said in the first, read the first paragraph. It said the free of the taint of manufacture. That phrase, free of taint of manufacture, means that pre-manufacture, when manufacture hadn't started, the steam engine hadn't started. The free of the taint of manufacture, that phrase in particularly is heavily loaded with ideology of what Victorian socialist William Morris called anti-scrape or an anti-capitalist conservationism, not conservatism, that solays itself with the vision of a pre-industrial golden age. They're saying that there's some notion of pre-industrial golden age, some nostalgia or some emotion or some vision attached to it, some certain emotions which get associated with it. You know, see, nostalgia is what? Nostalgia is that when you visit your old school, right, in which school which you studied, or you look at your old school uniform, or a tie or a belt is there, or a uniform, or your old school, on those streets you go, and that reminds you of it, right? So that is nostalgia. There's a feeling of happiness and sadness also at the same time, right? So folk may appear cozy in a fossil form. Okay, of its nostalgic association with the pre-industrial past. The notion of folk has been led to several debates and disagreements. No, this was never mentioned. It has been arrogated for political and cultural purposes. No, it was nowhere mentioned. Politics was never mentioned. It's a sonic shabby chick. No, shabby chick means in the form which is popular right now. And here, when they mean a cozy fossil form, we are only referring to the. So antique veneer is referring to the same thing, but with sonic chip is not. This is a different line. Remember, this is a different line. This is a different paragraph altogether. Nice, no? So after just by reading a quarter, 1/3 of the passage, we could solve 2 questions, right? So 2 out of 5 is a little less than what 40% we have done already. Good, no? 33% input and 40% output. What better? Right? The very obscurity means when something is unknown or something which is difficult to understand. Both it is used for obscurity. So the very obscurity and anonymity. Anonymity means when something is unknown, when there is no name to it, or it is not known. Obscurity and anonymity of folk music's origin open up space for rampant imaginative fancies. They saying that since it was so unknown and it was so difficult to understand or know, it opened up space for a lot of additions, lot of addition, lot of innovation, lot of invention in creating it. Basically, Cecil Sharp wrote about the subject, believed that folk song existed in constant transformation. An example, so there is constant change also. Now see, till this point they were talking about that it was a fossil form. People had this vision of the pre-industrial golden age, and what was, and folk has been unfashionable and fashionable, and it is sometimes it is considered very conservative, and now it is again in, and again it is popular. Now they're saying that now there's some different idea. Now they're saying that folk song existed in constant transformation, a living example of an art form in a perpetual state of renewable. So they're saying that the folk song existed in constant transformation, and an example and living example of an art form so there's an art form which is changing all the time. One man sings a song and then others sing it after him, changing what they do not like, is most concise summary of his conclusion on its origin. So they are saying that people sing a song and others sing after him, changing what they do not like, and that is the most concise summary of his conclusion on its origin. So they're saying that people are say, if a person doesn't like it, and the person may change it. Okay, he compared each rendition of a ballad to an acorn falling from an oak, and every subsequent iteration sows the song new. They say that every ballad, every song, and every rendition. What is a rendition? Rendition is how an artist sings a song. How an artist sings a song naturally in his or her own way. Okay. Every subsequent iteration sows the song anew. But there's tension in newness. In late 60s, purists were suspicious of folk songs recast as rock idioms. They think that there was something of a tension. There was some tension also, because the purists, the people who sang folk in a very pure way, they were doubtful that probably they will mix the folk songs in rock. Electrification, however, comes in many forms. For the 20th century composers such as Vaughan Williams and Host, there were thunderbolts of inspiration from Oriental mysticism, angular modernism, and the body blow of First World War, as well as inputs from the rediscovered folk tradition itself. They're saying that this modernization, they could have it came in a lot of forms. So they said that somewhere they took certain ideas from mysticism, from modernism, and some whatever experiences people had in the First World War, and from the rediscovered folk tradition itself, right? They can say that there was a constant transformation. Art which is in constant, which is when we say perpetual means constant change is happening. Okay, can we solve any question based on this? Okay, no, still cannot. Okay, so this very technique, this very paragraph is talking about that there is constant change, one, and that there was some uh, reservation, but that's only one line. And then they said that the influences in the what how people brought changes, those changes came in various form. The war experiences, the newly discovered folk traditions, rediscovered folk traditions, and at the same time, certain thoughts from mysticism and from modernism, they were also coming in. With the second wave of folk revivalists, so for the second wave of folk revivalists, such as McCall and Lloyd, starting in the 40s, the vital spark was communism dream of a post revolutionary New Jerusalem. So they're saying that for the second wave of folk revivalists, so they were so they are calling them, the people before them, first wave. Second wave of folk revivalists, such as these names have given in 40s, the vital spark of was communism's dream of post revolutionary New Jerusalem. So there was some when you say communism, there was some influence from there also. Okay. For the younger generation in the 60s, so everybody is mixing it. Okay. For the younger generation in the 60s, who thronged the folk clubs set up by the old guard. So they're saying that younger generation in the 60s, they thronged the folk clubs, which was set up by the old guard, means the people who came before them. There was a lyrical freedom of Dylan and unchained melodies of psychedelia. Psychedelia is actually psychedelic is actually a term. Psychedelic means the drugs, the psychotropic drug banned narcotics, substances such as LSD, and they are basically used. They are basically known for their alleged. It's not. They cannot confirm it because I haven't used it ever. The consciousness increases somewhere. Awareness increases. Created the conditions for folk rock's own golden age, a brief Indian summer which lasted from 1969 to 1971. The brief Indian summer is a short period before the winter start in the Western countries, wherein it becomes little there's a temperature drop, and there is so before summers, basically there's a brief period in which blossom happens and a bit of the trees become little, flowers become nice and they grow up, and it's just pre-winters, like the it's like the spring before the winters. It's like a small spring which happens for 15 to 20 days last, and it then goes away. So conditions of folk rock's own golden age, a brief Indian summer that lasted from about 1969 to 1971. So there was this thing. So they're talking about three main periods wherein there were this influences. One was a period when first people came, they brought in the experiences from the World War One. Then there was this there was this modernism. Then there was this mysticism they were bringing. Okay, and there was this recovery, rediscovered folk tradition. Then there was a next generation which brought in their dream of was communism's dream of a post-revolutionary new Jerusalem, and then they're talking about now then they talk about then after that what happens, that there is in 60s there is another beautiful age comes wherein people have unchained melodies and there is lyrical freedom. So there'll be many players between them. Also there'll be many kind of people, but they're just mentioning the most important ones. It's like putting. So if you read the history of folk music from the time even they are saying 1930s or 40s to 60s, you'll have to read 10 books, say 5 big books at least, but they are covering it up in 2 paragraphs. So they're just giving you small those milestones ki bhai, this also happened, he also came, he this did. They're just smattering of it. They're not even going a layer even down, right? They're just mentioning Dylan, what Dylan did. Dylan got Nobel Prize. It's not even going there. Okay, 4 decades on, even that progressive period has become just one more era ripe for fashionable emulation and pastiche. Pastiche means, sorry for the pronunciation, might be wrong here. Pastiche means again emulation. It means copy. So 4 decades on, that period has also become for fashionable copying and people copy. The idea of folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral transmission has become a much looser, less severely guarded concept. They say that the idea of folk tradition being confined to oral transmission has become looser, less guarded concept. And the recorded music, television for today's metropolitan generation are where equivalent of the folk memories are seated. They're saying that the idea of a folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral transmission has become much looser and less severely guarded concept. It says that at a conference of folk music, the folk forms, author is least likely to agree with which one of the following. The folk forms in their ability to constantly adapt to the changing world exhibit an unusual poise and homogeneity with change. No, it's never said that it is homogeneous. It is constantly changing. So this is the right answer. Least likely to agree with. Okay, folk forms, despite their archaic origin, remain intellectually relevant in modern contemporary times. Yes, correct. Because look at this now. They're talking about all these, Oriental mysticism, angular modernism, body blow of World War One, then communisms, then unchained melodies, then so this all this is coming up. It shows that there is a constant change, and it's much related to what is happening now. So the idea of it's constantly changing. Okay. The plurality and democratizing impulse of folk forms emanate from the improvisation that its practitioners bring to. Yeah, so they've been saying that it's completely democratic in nature. You can bring it whatever you want to change in it, right? So this is, again, it was mentioned there. The power of the folk resides in its contradictory ability to influence and be influenced. Yeah, correct. So these all were mentioned. So this is something which is there. Only this is not there. Which is the following about the revivalism of the 40s and 60s cannot be inferred from the passage? So it says that that it enforced Cecil observation about constant transformation. Yes, it did. Constant transformation. Freedom and rebellion. Yeah, freedom and rebellion were there. Second wave. Second wave. Yeah. There was this was a communism stream of post revolutionary New Jerusalem. Okay, this is also there. Electrification of music. Electrification of music without the influence of rock music. So here he was talking about 40s and 50s here, right? We are talking about, he came about 40s here, 40s here. Rock music was mentioned somewhere here. Okay, here it says. But there is tension in Eunice. In late 60s, the purists were suspicious of the folk songs recast in the rock idiom. So there is criticism. That is true. This is true. But it was, yeah, there was criticism as well. But electrification of music wouldn't have happened without influence of rock music. This was nowhere mentioned. What they mentioned was this: that the thing is that they are saying that electrification, however, comes in many forms. So here, electrification did not mean ki there is this that through rock music it is coming. This is nowhere mentioned. What they were saying that folk songs will be utilized in rock idioms. This is what they're saying. All of the following are causes of Plurality and diversity within British folk tradition accept. Plurality and diversity within the British folk tradition accept. Okay, what were the British folk tradition में क्या क्या plurality और diversity है? The fluidity of form owes to the history of oral mode of transmission. Correct. This was mentioned in the last paragraph also. So tough one, yaar. You're all asking all except things. Person who is reading for the first time will go nuts. The idea of the folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral tradition has become a much looser and less civilly guarded concept. That says that British folk continues to trace its pagan influence. What's pagan? Pagan, it is before, say, before a person. So in Christian, in Western terms, or in Western terms, anybody like say, you can say in pagan means somebody who doesn't believe in God, doesn't have one of those established religion, follows some other religion, pagan influence of from the Dark Ages. So yeah, so when they were saying that they were talking about these veneer of antique past, remember, they were cozy and fossilized form, okay, uncanny and eerie, as well as a veneer whiff, a whiff of Britain's heathen Dark Ages. This is always referring to here. Pagan influences. And British folk, same thing, to the remote past of the country. Remote past means you're trying to talk about the pre-industrial past, basically. And paradoxically, folk forms are both popular and unpopular. So that is not related to the diversity and plurality within British folk, right? This is something different. Okay, Unacademy subscription gives you live classes. You get to interact with the educator. You get live polls and leaderboard, test series and analysis. You get doubt clearing sessions. And please subscribe to Unacademy. Use the code Saxena Live. Thank you so much.